everyone. Welcome to So Unique Sewing's Summer Song Block of the Month project. Today we are going to be working on block 1, the pinwheel. You should have already reviewed our video on the cutting instructions and are ready to move forward with block 1. Once you get all your pieces cut, you're going to take your navy blue triangles and your butterfly teal triangles, and you're going to put them all together, and you're going to match them together on the short side, and then we're going to sew. I like to pin mine, even though I've been sewing for many years. It just makes me feel comfortable that things are together where I want them to be and they match up. So you're going to take, and we're going to go to the machine, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch down the short side, okay? And we're going to do that to all 4 of these triangles, okay? And then we'll be back. So now that you have these all sewn together, you're going to take them to the iron and you're going to press this. The directions tell you which way the seams go. I personally like everything to go to the dark side. So this one's not pressed yet, but these ones have been pressed. Then I like to take my little Olaf here and just pop off these little corners. But when you press, you want to make sure that you press this way to get the seam down, then flip it up and press it open this way. A lot of times people will leave gaps in here, and that will cut off from their, dimensions. So we'll just trim this one off a little bit. That one's got to go to the iron yet. So, okay, so we've got 3 of them ready to go. And now you're going to take your other larger triangle, and this should match up pretty evenly. If you don't have a good seam allowance in this crease, it'll cause you to lose something here. So check your seam allowance, make sure it is a 1/4 inch. It's very important. And then make sure your pressing is good. You see how that is nice and flat in there. This one's not been pressed yet, so if you can see, if I were to lay it down like this and then just pop it up, there's a little gap there, and you don't want that little gap. You want to make sure you press it flat down. So now I'm gonna go press that one, but I'm gonna take these over. We're gonna match this up here, and we're gonna take these over to the sewing machine, and we're just gonna stitch along here 1/4 inch. And again, I'm gonna pin because I like to make sure my things match up and stay matched up. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, you wanna make sure everything's accurate. So we lined up on this side and that side, so everything is a perfect line. And then we're gonna press those, we're gonna sew all 4 of them, press them, and then we'll be back to square it up. So now that we've sewed these together, we've got a nice little square here, and the directions call for it to be a 5-inch square. So I've got my 5.5 inch square here, and I'm just gonna line this up with that diagonal line and the edge, and we're pretty close to perfect. So if your seam allowance is off, that'll cause your measurements to be off. So you want to make sure your seam allowance is pretty accurate. This pattern is very close to the 1/4 inch, so they don't leave you much leeway here. So just try and get that lined up a little bit. And we're at 5 and 5 and 5 all the way around, and we're just going to cut this little tail off up here with Olaf. I don't have my spinning board, or I'd show you how the spinning board works, but I don't have that here at the house. So we'll just cut those little corners off, and we've got our 5-inch square. And we're ready to move on to the next step. So once you square all 4 of these up, we're gonna join these, and I'll give you a heads up without sewing them. We're gonna, well, let me get this right, and I guess I'll show you how to do it once I figure it out. Let's see, here we go. So that goes this direction, and blue goes this direction. Not, here we go. And then, there we go. So we're gonna square these up, and then we're gonna sew these all 4 together. So we'll sew 2 together, 2 together, and then we'll bring the 2 and 2 and sew that together. Again, using your 1/4-inch seam. And we're gonna end these cutting instructions for today. Now that we have our pinwheel all put together, you should press it, have your seams laying nice and flat. And then you're gonna use a 9.5-inch square just to make sure that your measurements are accurate. And mine are pretty close. I'm a hair off over here. So we're just gonna trim that up a little bit. I wanna make sure that lines up. So if you can see, I have my diagonal line that's going across here, and it's pretty close on the diagonal there. So my seams are pretty good there. And we're just gonna take that little edge off on the side. I really needed to bring my spinning board home, but anyway, just realign it if you don't have one of the spinning cutting boards, and then trim those edges off. Congratulations, everyone. You have completed your pinwheel. Step 1 in block 1 of Summer Song Block of the Month project.